Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. This episode today will be a little bit different and a little bit shorter, or hopefully a little bit shorter, because I can imagine that during this time of the year you have far more important things to do to listen to me yap. So I will try my best. I promise I will try my best to keep it brief and to the point. But like we also know that every single time I've said this on an episode saying like this will be brief, I end up being glued to the microphone for the next hour. So we'll see how that goes. Like this is my intention. We'll see how it manifests. But like no, chop chop. So what I'm trying to achieve with this episode is de-influence you. And in particular, I want to de-influence you about Christmas. And hopefully, by doing so, I would take away some of the great, immense, even societal and internal pressure that comes with it. And I want to dispel the myth of what Christmas should look like, feel like, be celebrated like. I just want to try and validate the different holiday experiences, and in doing so, to recognize that different people's different realities just look different. And let's be real, most of them don't look like a Coca-Cola ad. Basically, my goal with this episode is to recognize that there is not a set in stone image of what you and your holiday should look like, and hopefully this makes you feel better. And if it doesn't make you feel better, then I don't know. But because the thing is, 'tis the season to be jolly. And let me just say, it is okay if you're not jolly. It is okay if you're in fact resentful and cannot wait for this to all be over. But what am I talking about exactly? First, wait, let me preface this by saying that I'm talking about Christmas in particular because I am an Orthodox Christian, so I celebrate Christmas, but I very much recognize that in the upcoming weeks there are many more holidays to be celebrated beyond the Christian ones. However, I don't feel eligible to talk about their celebrations because I'm not knowledgeable enough on their origins and commemorations because I have never celebrated them. So I'm going to focus on Christmas today, and in particular, how to survive Christmas. That being said, if you're not a Christian but you celebrate Christmas, or you are a Christian but you don't celebrate Christmas, or you don't have any affiliation to any religion and you're just like, whatever, this is just a random podcast, I'll just listen to it. I think what I have to say can be useful not just for this particular time of the year, but all throughout. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. So, the pressure that comes with Christmas. Dare I say, most, if not all of us, have at a certain point in our lives felt it in one form or another. What am I talking about? Well, this, dare I say, rather unrealistic ideal of, form of the perfect, joyful, familial celebration where everything is so beautiful, so joyful, so peaceful, filled with coziness, warmth, glee, unity, and happiness, with no tears, no mishaps. It's just like perfect gifts, perfect baked goods, perfect songs, coziest pajama sets, fluffiest snow, the most, heartwarming hot chocolate drank next to the most aesthetically pleasing fire bed. If this is what your reality looks like, good for you. Enjoy every single second of it. Your experience is unique, it is valid, it is amazing, and you should appreciate it and make the most out of it. Good for you. But I will be the first to say it. And if I'm wrong, feel free to tell me to erase my existence from this earth. Most people's Christmas does not look like this. And that is okay. And that is not wrong. And that is actually perfectly fine. So honestly, to that stereotype, which creates this immense pressure of what your lived reality should look like, and if not, just don't bother. So to that stereotype and anything that preaches it, I'm here to say, screw that. That is an unrealistic standard that we are being upheld to. An unrealistic standard that was instilled in us by others or by ourselves. A standard that is so difficult to meet, but is so ingrained into what you should strive for, that if you don't keep up, your mood, your days, and your life are just, plain and gray. Well, why is that such a wrong thing? Realness is not gray or boring or not worth celebrating. Or realness is not something we should not recognize. Realness, if anything, is the main thing we should put on a pedestal against these faux beliefs of what a life structure should look like. Because real people have real experiences and real emotions. And the way I perceive it, real is just incompatible with perfect. This agenda has been set and distributed over and over again through movies, ads, songs, and it creates this immense pressure to adhere to this mold. And if you deviate from it, you feel like you aren't doing enough, like you aren't doing it correctly, and everyone sometimes play pretend, sometimes real happiness is out there being shoved down your throat, making you feel extremely isolated, extremely alone, and just straight up sad. So honestly, screw that. The notion of being fed this faux happiness to remind you how exactly to be happy, in reality just reminds you of your actual unhappiness and heaviness. So, well, what a holy jolly Christmas, if you ask me. Of course, I'm not implying that it is all fake and that no true Christmas joy and happiness exist. I'm not saying that Christmas is not innately merry. No, I'm not trying to paint the glass half empty. But I want to recognize that it is okay if you struggle to see it as half full either. Sometimes the glass is just a glass with water, and recognizing its existence is sometimes a whole ordeal in itself. And if you're able to identify that you're feeling in a particular way, just be proud of yourself. And even if you're not able to identify the knot of emotions that you're experiencing, still be proud of yourself. You're here. If not celebrating Christmas, celebrate your human nature that allows you to experience such a spectrum of emotions, sometimes all at once. And I know it's extremely much easier said than done, but be brave enough, or try to be brave enough to not let any societal, religious, or capitalist agenda tell you that you're not experiencing things correctly if you don't experience them the way they preach. Life and feelings don't have to be impeccable to be worthy of recognition, to be worthy of celebration. I know that the holidays are meant to be celebrated, but I also know and very much recognize that for many of you, the holidays are not about celebration. They're about survival. I know some of you will work on the holidays. Some of you will get a very much needed time off. Some of you will be with people you love and are loved by. Some of you will miss someone. Some of you will miss yourselves, who you were or who you could be. I know some of you met someone you grew to love, while some of you lost someone you love. I know some of you lost yourselves. Some of you will finally be home. Some of you will long for home, while some of you cannot wait to get out of home. Some of you will spend Christmas alone. Some of you will spend Christmas with people you love. And some of you will spend the holidays with people you cannot stand, whether you admit it or not. Some of you will cry tears of happiness and get a dream fulfilled. And some of you will cry themselves to sleep, crushing under the weight of life. Some of you will feel joy, and some of you will feel extreme sadness and pressure. Some of you are waiting impatiently for Christmas, and some of you are waiting impatiently for Christmas to be over. And some of you will have this Coca-Cola ad type of holiday season, and some of you will be out there wondering whether you will make it out alive from this holiday season. Mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, and so on and so forth. And there are so many more holiday celebration / survival experiences that I did not account for here. There are so many more experiences that I have not even thought about. Because here's the thing. There is not, or at least there should not be, a universal image of how we should feel, how we should be, how we should celebrate, how we should talk, experience, and perceive the holidays. And I hate that this is not the case, because we have been propagated this particular image of Christmas. And while for some it may be a given experience, for others it may be an unattainable miracle. And for others, it is a dreaded nightmare. And all of these are valid, and all of these should be recognized. For some, it is indeed the most wonderful time of the year. And for others, it feels like a punishment, a heavy, painful punishment. And these two, as well as every experience between and beyond these constraints, is absolutely okay to have. Because life sometimes is not monochrome. Life is not black or white. Life is not about the extremes. Life is sometimes simply gray. And we need to accept, celebrate, and embrace the gray. I would normally say we need to make the gray colorful, but maybe this is not always the case. Maybe sometimes we just need to let the gray be gray. Maybe we shouldn't strive to always make something out of something, to make something out of anything, to always twist the narrative. Maybe sometimes the best thing we can do is just let things and let ourselves be, even if that is conventionally perceived as a wrong manifestation or a boring existence. Because everything is a social construct, and at the end of the day, none of this will matter. Not to sound super nihilistic, but that's the reality. None of this will matter once we're all gone, so we might as well let ourselves experience the raw reality and not try to airbrush it or make it acceptable at the price of our lived truth. We put so much pressure on ourselves to have the perfect holidays, to make the perfect food, to buy the perfect gifts, to watch the perfect movies, bake the perfect cookies, spend the perfect time. And this pressure is internalized from the media and from society because it is such a taboo topic to talk about the hardships you're experiencing. Because you might have had the worst year of your life. And I really hope that is not the case, but hypothetically, you have had the worst year of your life. You might have struggled significantly in every single aspect of the human experience. But you're forced to play pretend and act as if everything is hot chocolate and snowmen around Christmas. How does this make sense? What makes Christmas a day so different from the others that you don't get to live your own personal lived experiences and you must be joyful and grateful? Now, I'm not saying that I'm against Christmas, by no means. I don't mean to be a Grinch or I don't mean to be an Uncle Scrooge. I actually love Christmas for different reasons now than, for example, when I was a kid. I'm not against joy. I'm not against gratitude. What I'm trying to get at is that it is okay if those are not things you're experiencing around the holidays, because the holidays can be so extremely difficult. And trust me, I'm usually very much against the whole agenda of it's just another day, because yes, it can be just another day if you wanted to. But I feel like in the grand scheme of stuff, diminishing the importance of celebrations, be it Christmas, New Year's, birthdays, or any other personal or career or national festivities, it's just not fun. Those are things we need to have. We need to have these days that deserve a special mark in our calendars, because they can serve as a reminder that in the midst of all the gray, there's still beauty and worthwhile time. However, if you think that this mentality is going to help you survive Christmas, if Christmas is a matter of survival for you, then I say it is just another day. It is simply, realistically speaking, another set of 24 hours that will pass, whether you like it or not, whether you participate in it or not. So if you cannot wait for Christmas to be over, just remind yourself that it is only 24 hours and they don't need to be any more special than the rest of the days of the year if you don't want them to be. It is just another 24 hours that may be extremely magical and joyful and celebratory and life-changing, but it can also be extremely boring or stressful or personally unnecessary or straight up annoying. So if you're looking for a survival technique, just remind yourself of the inevitable and unstoppable passage of time, and remind yourself that it is just once a year and you will have a whole another year until you have to survive Christmas again. Let me tell you what is personally stressing me about Christmas. Wait, before I say anything further, if you're a child that is listening to this, well, first of all, don't. But if you do, it is on your parents that you're consuming this content, so don't blame me. Or if you're listening with a child, I'd say just wait until you're alone, because I will be talking about Santa Claus. Wink, wink. So basically, what really took away a big portion of the magic for me when it comes to Christmas was when I first started buying Christmas presents for everyone. And I will be the first to say it. It is such a champagne spoiled brat problem. I get it. Like, wow, what a privilege it is that I get to worry what to get my parents for Christmas instead of wondering whether I will see my parents for Christmas. I get it. And I know that it's such a detach from the actually important things mentality. But please hear me out. I would say I was probably 12 or 13 when I first started doing this, like buying everyone individually a present. And since then, I have been so extremely stressed around Christmas because I never know what to get people. I am always above budget and I pay for it, no pun intended, the months after, and it is just so stress inducing because you want to make the people happy and you want to give them an indication that you're thinking of them and you want to bring them joy in one form or another. But gift giving can be so stressful. And I love giving gifts. I hate receiving gifts because I simply don't know how to act. And I always feel so extremely uncomfortable. And I feel like I'm never expressive enough with my gratitude. And I don't want people spending their time and money and energy to get me something. But that is a whole another psychological barrier that I have to deal with. Because I love giving gifts. I love making gifts to give to people. But I love doing it in a way that is not forcing me to blow their minds away, and give them everything and anything they wanted for and more. I know that I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself with this, but yeah, just coming up with gifts and giving them is such a big stress factor for me, even though I love gift giving. And as much as I love DIY gifts, I always feel like if I were to give someone something DIY, they would just think that I'm just trying to simply get it over with and that I don't care, which couldn't be further from the truth. And on the very opposite end, when I'm on the receiving end, when someone gives me something they themselves made, I just sob because what do you mean you made this with me in mind? I will always and forever cherish it and I want to be buried with it. So again, double standards, my double standards are very much double standarding. I don't know how to unlearn them and how to simply eradicate them from my mind and existence. And I feel like they're such a big instigator of stress around the holidays for me. So I just missed the time when I thought Santa Claus was real and didn't have to create an extremely intricate 18 steps plan to the perfect gift for a person I don't even like, but I feel obligated to gift something. And I fear many of us have been in this situation. I don't know, man. It's weird. I recognize it. So if this is also a big stress factor around the holidays for you and you're here looking for some advice, sorry, I will not be able to give it to you because I myself am struggling a lot with navigating it. But you're not alone. I'm here. I understand. Because Christmas, I recognize, like, it isn't about the gifts, but I feel this pressure to always go and outperform and over-deliver. And for this, of course, I have my little trusty friend capitalism to thank, because capitalism is the reason Christmas has become so commercialized and gift-centered. I feel like nowadays it is more about what you give and what you get than how you feel and how you make others feel. I just hate when capitalism takes away the joy of innately joyful and pure things. But if I had a dime for every time this has happened, I would be recording this on a yacht in Monaco and not in a village in Bulgaria. Although, you know what? I cannot imagine a better place to celebrate Christmas than my little village in Bulgaria that no one has ever heard of, because it is home. In every aspect you can think of, it is home. And I'm actually so extremely grateful that I got the chance to come here, come just home for the holidays. So let's not be a downer in every way, shape, and form, and recognize that happy moments and the things we long for exists. So I have been thinking a lot about what advice to give to those of you who don't celebrate but survive Christmas, the ones who will be waiting impatiently for the calendar to show the 26th. I never know how to pronounce sixth, that the day after Christmas. The ones who are so fed up with all the capitalistic poshness and unreal standards. The ones who just cannot do this anymore. And trust me, I have been in your position some of the years. Now, currently I am not. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying it as a testament to how things and just life in general fluctuate. Again, life is just not about the extremes. The substance of the middle is still significantly important and influential and worth living in and living for. So I have been thinking a lot what to say to you, and I wanted to give actual practical advice, not just the think this or think that of it all. Like, I don't think that's can very much be immediately helpful. I wanted to come up with some tangible steps which would help you survive Christmas. And my list isn't original. I will be the first to say it. But yeah, I think that you just cannot go wrong with the tried and proven overtime method. So, Surviving Christmas 101 with your dear friend Magdalena. My first advice is, and it is actually applicable all throughout the year, not just on Christmas, but in case Christmas is a matter of survival, I think this one is a must. Dedicate some time to just yourself. Get alone for a little bit. And before any of you jump and riot, I have to work, I have things to tend to, I have no time, I'm not talking about dedicating an entire day to your solitude. Although if you can, go for it. Just make sure to establish this solitude in the frame of me time and not loneliness, so that you can perceive it differently and not force yourself to feel heavy and unhappy. Because, well, I'm not saying loneliness automatically equals unhappiness, but as someone who's been quite acquainted with loneliness for a big portion of her life, it can become all-consuming and it can elicit some negative thoughts and behavioral patterns. So make sure to try and approach being alone as solitude and not loneliness. In the future, I will tell you more in depth about my journey about reimagining and rewriting loneliness to turn it from my punishment to something I quite often crave. But let's focus on Christmas now. So I don't mean spend the entire day alone, ditch all your responsibilities and whatnot. I'm literally referring to only 10 minutes of your day. And I know in the grand scheme of the day, 10 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've ever tried to turn stretching into a daily habit, you know that 10 minutes sometimes can be a lot to devote, mentally, physically, and most importantly, motivationally. But the problem is that if you try to implement these 10 minutes into your already existing structure of the day, it will be harder. My advice is carve out, plan ahead this time slot. For instance, wake up 10 minutes earlier or go to bed 10 minutes later. That will be, I think, the easiest time slot to do. In fact, if you're feeling fancy, do both these time slots to have one before you have faced the day and one after to, decompress. Now, I know this sounds super basic, but these 10 minutes can genuinely help you shape your thoughts and experiences. Basically, what those 10 minutes would be about should be, for instance, first of all, for example, silence. I know there's a lot of hustle and bustle, busyness and chaos around the holidays, and just a short amount of peace and disconnection from it all can be extremely regenerating and fruitful in terms of resetting the mental capacity tank, so to call it. A little bit of silence and disconnection can help you be more in tune later. Second of all, these 10 minutes would ideally be a time to not only disconnect from the world, but connect to yourself. Here's the thing, having these cheerful mantras and happiness shoved down your throat can be extremely overwhelming. They can serve as a reminder not to be happy, but as a reminder of how unhappy you actually are. And as such, they can be extremely invalidating of your feelings, invalidating of your experience, and invalidating of your existence. And here's the thing. I know how much emotional validation is necessary. Trust me, I seek it more often than I would like to admit. It's not about looking for compassion or understanding or pity. God, oh no, it's not about looking for pity. It's all about being recognized as real, and that realness being accepted as a rightful manifestation of the human experience, rather than dismissed as a broken mold or a broken mind. And I know we innately look for external validation. But again, the holidays come with this stigma around them. And I feel like on a larger scale, we're not societally quite there yet to have the conversation that this stigma puts us under a lot of unrealistic expectations and pressure. So my advice is, in those 10 minutes, try to validate yourself. Try to distance yourself from all these established beliefs and try to validate yourself, your emotions, your experiences, your existence. You recognizing that what you're going through is real may not align with what we perceive the reality should look like. It is extremely difficult because it can feel like admitting defeat. But in reality, it is setting yourself free from all these expectations. Allowing yourself to not celebrate but focus on survival and recognizing the different meaning Christmas will have for you is the first step to embracing the fact that it is okay to not be okay. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to put up appearances. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to fit in. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to accommodate and play pretend. You shouldn't have to feel like you need to ignore your feelings because they don't align with what you must feel. Screw all of that. Giving yourself those 10 minutes would allow you to set the tone for the rest of the day. It would allow you to give yourself grace by recognizing that what you're feeling is true. And this recognition, I believe, could eradicate over time the internalized judgment about not being jolly. And I know that this is all so much easier said than done. But eradicating the judgment that can ultimately arise is a very difficult and not a 10-minute process. It is a lengthy situation, but I believe it can start with just you, yourself, validating what you're living through. So in those 10 minutes, recognize that it will perhaps be difficult. Again, remind yourself that it is a passing moment, not a set in stone eternity. In those 10 minutes, give yourself the validation you wish you would receive from others. Because no amount of external validation will make up for your own disbelief and self-deprecation and self-judgment and self-eradication. In those 10 minutes, try to establish within yourself what your boundaries are about the day. Your emotional, physical, mental, financial even, and so on and so forth boundaries. Just be gentle with yourself in such ungentle circumstances. And try, please, I'm begging you, try and respect these boundaries. It may be difficult, it may suck, but you have to do it. Because recognizing that a set boundary has been crossed is even harsher sometimes than recognizing a not explicitly perceived by you boundary being crossed. So respect yourself enough to respect your boundaries. It sounds so much easier said than done. I know. I myself am not there. I myself struggle more often than I would like to admit. But unlike me, do as I say, not as I do, as I always say. But unlike me, try and draw your boundaries with a solid line and not a dotted one. Because I cannot blame anyone for intruding my soul if I left the door wide open with a welcome sign in the front. It is my responsibility to protect my inner peace and my entire being. Another thing you can use those 10 minutes for is distraction. And again, in a way, reconnection to yourself. And the way I would say to do this is by doing something you enjoy. 10 minutes, not more. Don't put yourself under unnecessary pressure to have fun. Just try it out. If it ends up cheering you, amazing. If not, it was just 10 minutes. Think about something you love to do but have not done in a while. Or like if something you just love to do and you do every now and then, or maybe regularly, just do it. Just do it. Some hobby, workout, some craft, some activity, just 10 minutes. Let's take, for instance, I don't know, painting. Now, 10 minutes may not be enough to even sketch something, but it can act as an amazing reminder that you can find something you love in the chaos of the stress and the unhappiness. Show yourself that you are still there for yourself, that you have your own back, that you're there to support yourself through thick and thin. 10 minutes of painting may not be enough, but they can be an amazing hint of enjoyment and an amazing mood boost. My second advice, and this one, I don't know, like I am just very much currently in the middle of a lot of stress about social media and stuff. So I may sound very cynical when I say all of these things. So yeah, it's just this one, I will preach until it's written in the Bible. Maybe I will preach it now rather harshly, but my intentions are good, I promise. Delete social media. Deactivate it if you're not ready for absolute eradication. Just for the day. I know that social media can be an amazing distraction and a source of entertainment. Around the holidays and all throughout the year. Social media, we've explored it before while we use it, refer to one of my older episodes. Social media, it can be great, but it can be also harmful. And if you're in survival mode, social media is more likely to hurt you than help you, because it is such a big channel of propagating the status quo. Because I personally have never seen anyone go on Instagram and post how miserable they were on Christmas. Also, on a purely mundane level, social media can be so flashy around the holidays. So here is your reminder. People belong to different tax brackets. Don't let a billionaire's Christmas ruin your average person experience. Would you rather go in debt to be able to buy the biggest, most expensive gifts just to prove to someone, an online community that does not exist in the real world, how good you have it? But money aside, that is like a tricky topic that I know is very delicate for some people. Social media can just sometimes be an overall reminder, a constant influx of reminders, if you will, of what the established perceptions are. And inevitably, you compare yourself to what you see on your screen. It would be so easy of me to say don't compare yourself and for comparison to simply cease to exist, but that's just not how things work. That's not realistic. So, because this is a long process, like not comparing yourself, it is not a one and done. My advice is, just for the day, remove the problem at its core. Remove the reference point you use for this comparison. And trust me, I know FOMO exists. For those of you who don't know, FOMO stands for fear of missing out. FOMO is real. However, life is about measuring your pros and cons sometimes. And I say better to have FOMO than to be made to feel like you aren't doing enough, that you aren't doing it right, that you aren't existing correctly. Social media is not real. Social media, you know what? Try to perceive it as what it actually is. It is a parallel universe, a digital parallel universe that is somewhat interrelated to our physical universe. There's no denying it. It is connected to our lived reality. But ultimately, this parallel universe social media is artificial. It is not real in the sense that it is not natural. It is not a necessary part of your human existence. So don't let it define your real life. Humanity has existed long before Meta, and if Meta were to stop existing, will it change our lives the way we know them now? Yes, absolutely, because it has become so ingrained in our day-to-day existence. But will it be the end of us and the end of our lives? No. So don't let what won't end humanity end your humanness. Because you have lived a life at a certain point without your digital presence. And you survived. And I'm not here to say social media is innately bad. Trust me, if I said that, I might as well go and burn my degree. No, social media is not innately bad. And it is not innately good either. It is about how we choose to operate it and how we choose to perceive it. And if in your experience social media is an immense stress factor, why would you accommodate it and let it define your existence when you're the one ultimately in control to always opt out of participation? Again, so much easier said than done because there are so many socio-cultural, economic, and political factors that go into social media. But just for the day, don't use it. Again, better to feel like you're missing out on what is going on online instead of being told that in your offline, actual, real, physical existence, you're not enough. But in reality, what would you be missing out on? Something that is making you feel worse about your situation and yourself? Just embrace the FOMO, guys. Just embrace the FOMO. There's beauty in it and a forced reconnection with reality. And sometimes a reality check is all you need. And that is basically the advice I had today. I know, again, it's absolutely nothing novel. I did not reinvent the wheel here, but I hopefully acted as a nice reminder that it is okay to not be okay, even on Christmas, or perhaps especially on Christmas. All in all, what I'm trying to get to is the holidays don't have to be festive if you don't want them to be, or they don't have to be festive if you don't need them to be. The holidays can just be real, whatever that is. It is okay to sometimes just survive, and survival in itself is something worth celebrating. With that being said, thank you for listening to this episode, which I originally intended to be shorter, but we all know Yapatron 3000. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and most of all, I hope it validated you. I am sending you so much love, so much positive energy and hugs, and I promise mine are real, even if they're in this digital parallel universe. So, happy holiday season, guys. And if not happy, then just holiday season, guys. Stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye!